A massive welcome to my very first podcast episode of Freedom with Kristie. I am so excited to be here today, and today I am joined with two of probably what are going to be my favorite guests ever on the podcast. So I want to do a massive welcome to Dad and Ven.
Hey.
Hi.
So Ven is 7, and today's episode, this very first episode, is really to share about financial literacy in the eyes of a 7-year-old and in the eyes of parents and the perspective of both sides, plus around kids' entrepreneurship and how we're setting up our kids to be leaders and bosses versus slaves and employees through not sending them to school. And we're also going to talk about, unschooling and how we're also supporting Venice to harness his interests and actually get paid for that. So, this is going to be a very juicy conversation. I asked Ben to be on the podcast and he said yes. So he's very brave for 7 to do that. But I want to give some context before we kind of bring them out and share about these kind of concepts. So first of all, we are taught often, everything that we know as adults is often taught or modeled from our childhood. And recently I was running a retreat and it was really interesting because there was one woman aside from me that was a millionaire in the room. And it turns out that basically as a child, she saw her father go to the bank. She would be with him and they would go to the bank and he would be putting money in different accounts. And so she modeled this behavior, and now she's 30, she's paid off her mortgage, she's created incredible success, she's got incredible financial literacy. And I was like, wow, like it's so interesting that one person that was a millionaire really received that coding, I guess, as a child. And it's so important that how we model this behavior to our children, because what do we want them to experience when they are in their adult life? Like I know Clint and I speak about this, like we weren't taught financial literacy. We weren't taught money management, right? And then we get to our adult years and we're like, what on earth do we do with money? How do we save? How do we give? What do we spend? Like so many of us adults are pretty messed up in that area and have to try and figure it out. So we really want our children to have this knowledge that we didn't have. And so we are doing certain things for them to have this skill set so that they take that skill set from their childhood and they have this skill set with them in their adult life. And it's not that hard. It's actually pretty simple, really basic principles that we're following with them and that we're teaching them. But first of all, I actually want to talk about unschooling because this is all part of it. So in my eyes, and I'll get Clint to share in a moment, but in my eyes, schooling sets us up to be employees. They go to, they go to a school, 9 till 3, everyone's wearing a uniform, like you can't kind of stand out. They're not really taught to have their creativity and just focus on what they're interested in. And they're kind of taught stuff that, in these day and age can be Googled and that's very outdated. And we want to actually set our children up to be leaders, to be bosses, to, have the principles of entrepreneurship and the actual skill sets that are important. Like the amount of adults that I speak to that were like, why weren't we taught financial literacy in school? Why is that basic skill set not actually taught? And then it becomes so complicated when we're adults. So let's start with schooling. Like I'd love to hear from kind of both people's perspective, but Clint, you made a decision a couple of months ago to, Venice was already going to like a farm school. So it was already a very like alternative type of thing and only a couple of days a week. But I guess I'd love to hear what was the moment and what was the decision behind, really making this decision to unschool and the benefits that you're seeing of unschooling.
Yeah, so we decided that we weren't going to do traditional school. And so we found like a homeschooling pod. And for the first year, Venny he thrived in that. He enjoyed it. And then the next year we went back and every day he's like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. And I was like, well, it's too bad, like school. And then, and I've thought back to my school. I'm like, there's many times I didn't want to go to school, but I just went because you go to school. And he just kept saying it pretty much every day. And it was one night and Kristie was we went on a trip to Japan, Ven and I went to an event with our business. I went over there and Ven and I just had the best time. We're skiing, we're playing, we're writing music and we're just having the best time. And when we came back, he was still going on about this school thing. And then we'll have this moment and you and I had the realization at the same time. And I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, maybe I should homeschool Venice. And then Kristie says to Venice, they were having this side conversation. I was sort of pondering in my own space, goes, why don't you do school with Dad? And I went, well, we had the same thought at the same time. And it just felt so good. And so I got really excited about the idea of homeschooling Venice. So
me.
And you got excited? Yeah. How'd you feel about it?
Good.
Why?
Because
Why?
it was fun.
That's fun. Okay. So, yeah, we pulled him out of the school straight away, and I became the teacher. And so at first, I just sort of like, okay, how do I do this? I was working with like AI and just getting some curriculum together and teaching him certain things. And the first day we wrote a song, and it was really fun. But then a couple of weeks into it, someone gave me a book, which was you, called Unschooled. Yeah. And so I started reading this. And as I was reading this unschooling book, it just totally made sense. And basically the concept of unschooling is that you just really follow and nurture the child's interest and allow them to guide their education rather than forcing a curriculum on them, which totally just, it really opened something up for me, because I realized, like, even me at home, I was like forcing a curriculum on him. And I realized, I was like, wow, this is why kids, and when you leave school, you got no idea what you're meant to do, because throughout your whole life, from the age of 5 or 6 when you go to school, all of a sudden it's not what you want to do. It's what someone else is telling you to do. What the schooling, the government, the teachers, the educators, it's their curriculum. And all of a sudden your natural instincts are pushed to the side. And no wonder people, when they leave school, they've got no idea who they are or what they're meant to do, because from a young age, and they spend 15,000 hours at school, 15,000 hours wasted on doing something that's not actually intrinsically inspired from within. And so it just opened something up, and I was like, this absolutely makes sense. And so Venice and I have been doing that, and what we discovered, that he does have certain interests, and we've just been nurturing and allowing space. And you just see him, like at home, he's thriving. He's going from strength to strength. He's got confidence. He's happier. He feels better. He's not complaining about school. You know, he still has his complaints, and he's still 7 and
still asks for a lot of toast.
Yeah. You know, he's still a kid. But you can just see that he's gaining so much from it. And you know what? And on the flip side of that, so am I. Like, I love it. I love our time together. I love seeing him grow up. It feels very natural. And it's like, I feel this is how it's meant to be. You know, a son should be with his father, you know, and I'm teaching him how to be a man. And, you know, spending time with him, encouraging him in what he's naturally drawn to rather than what we think he's actually naturally drawn to.
I love that. What did you call the school?
Young Legend Academy.
So cool. I love it. And how are you finding Young Legend Academy, Ben?
Good.
Yeah. What do you do during the day?
Go to Steve Katz and Arakan.
Yeah. They do Arakan. They go to the chiropractor, and you do a lot of music, right?
Yeah.
And what we're really harnessing is, you know, his interests and actually getting paid from his interests. So, you know, and not forcing him to get paid from his interests, of course. It's just been a natural evolution, because he actually really loves music and money. And Ben's the type of kid that, like, will type into ChatGPT, and he'll be there and he'll be like, how do I make $10,000 today? And even last night he was asking Chat, how do I make $500 tonight without having to leave the house and without having to post anything online, you know? So this is how he thinks. And I really understood how naturally gifted at sales he was when he started doing music with Clint, and Clint's been into music for years now. And so Ben's kind of, you know, naturally kind of developed this interest and skill set. And Ben had written a song after their time in Japan, and it's such an epic song. And at the time I was running a couple of events in Australia, and I said to him, hey, Ben, will you come and perform at my event? And this is hundreds of people at each event, like 200 people. So it's a pretty big deal for a 7-year-old kid, right? And at first he was like, no. And then he was like, yes and no and yes and yet no. And then he got into negotiation mode and he was like, all right, I'll do it if you give me $300 or $400 or something. And I'm trying to negotiate with him. I'm like, I'll do it for $200. And he's like, no, I'm only going to do it for this amount. And he was so adamant. I was like, all right, Ben, you win. And so and I was like, wow, he's really good at negotiation. And I've always seen it with him, really like quite naturally gifted when it comes to sales. I think children are actually born with the skill set of sales because they're so good at negotiating and getting what they want. So Ben, what did you love about like being paid $300 to do a song on stage?
Getting paid.
Yeah, getting paid. How was it? Did you feel nervous at all doing that on stage, or how'd you feel?
The first bit.
First bit a bit nervous, and then what happened after that? You got more confident?
Yeah.
Yeah, you rocked it. Everyone loved it, hey?
Yeah.
Benny just said to me, make sure everyone doesn't come and get photos with me at the end or come up to me at the end.
When?
When you were doing it.
Doing what?
When the first time you did it. You were like, make sure everyone doesn't come up to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool, hey?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's now talk a little bit about the music and like what you guys have been doing recently. So a while ago, Benny started doing busking, but it wasn't with Clint. It was, I took him down and then Lauren took him down.
He started
No,
out in
Lotus
front of the
did.
house.
Lotus, yeah. No, but before all of that, this was like a couple of months ago, you did some busking. And we went to like Mullum.
Well, they started out the front of our house, and we
Yes.
live on a quiet
Quiet
street,
street.
and you get a car past you might get a few every hour, and not many people walking occasionally. And so they were out the front and busking, and I said, Benny, I think you need some more people. And then so they went down to, we went down to Murbar and then into Mullum, and it was Venice and his two sisters
No, I was in Murbar.
in Murbar.
Yeah.
And they were playing the guitar and maybe the drums and
In Mullum as well. And you
singing.
started to make some money. And you were like, wow, people actually pay me to like sit here and like, do the guitar
I
and the
knew
drumming.
they did.
What's that?
I knew they would pay me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but it was awesome.
He's got a
right?
knowing. He
He's
knows
got a
I'll pay
knowing.
me.
He's like, all right, I know I'm going to get paid to do this. But it's really cool, right? And I think there's this like the way that I see it is like at 15, kids are kind of, told from their parents, all right, go get your first job, blah, blah, blah. I looked up the average wage the other day for a 15-year-old in their first job, and it was like $9.80 or $9.30. And I was like, oh my gosh, our child at 7 already gets paid more than that. And what they've been doing is busking, and they've been going out and hitting the streets and, performing and all of this. So I'd love for you guys to talk through, like, how's that experience been? What have you been learning through that? Anything you want to share?
So Venny actually suggested it the other day, and I was apprehensive around doing it because I'd never busked before. I came into music about 5 years ago, and I've just been performing in front of, friends, community. I've done a couple of concerts, and busking has just never been something that I've done. And so Venny wanted to do it, and I was like, okay. I sort of did it more for Venice, and I had to like work through my own discomfort around it. Because I'm like, that's actually really confronting, going down on the street, performing in front of these people that don't know me. And so I was like, all right. And so there's a fruit and veggie place the organic place down in Murbar. So we went down and asked them if we could busk out the front. They're like, yeah, sounds great. And so we got some of their biscuits, and we opened a packet, and we were selling cookies and a couple of other things, and we were playing music. We had the hat out, and we did some of our songs. And we're probably there for maybe about 10 minutes. And I just started having so much fun. And it was...
And yesterday we made $73.
In just over an hour, yeah?
No, it was 2 hours.
Was it 2 hours?
it was about an hour and a half.
Yeah. That's pretty epic, right? Like, that's like $35, more than $35 an hour, right? And most kids at 15 are getting paid like $9 an hour.
So we did it in Murbar. And there wasn't many people, and we might have made about $20, but it was like $20, and we had fun doing it anyway. I'm like, this is great. So we just decided that we're going to do it again the next day. So we went down the next day, had a ball. We went to a different spot, took the girls down this time, made a little bit more money. I think we might have made about $30. And then the next day we're going to our property. And I said, you know what? A really good place to do it would be in Nimbin because we travel through Nimbin to go to our property. And so we stopped in Nimbin.
And we got about $50.
$50, yeah. We did well in Nimbin.
But we spent more than we got.
That's right, yeah. And then we decided, we just had little different ideas along the way. So we realized that we had Vegas in the car, and I'm like, he's really cute and people love him. So
That's our dog, by the way.
Yeah, it's our dog. What if we sell pats with Vegas? So we made up this little sign. And also you could pat him for $1, unlimited pats for a minute, or you could feed him for $2. And so we got some like little bits of bacon.
Yeah, and I went in there and he took a photo, and I walked down the wrong end and I couldn't see it. And then the next day, we went down there again, and then we got lots of money.
Yeah, so we've been doing it. We made a decision that we'd busk every day. And so we've been busking every day. We've been in Nimbin, then we went down to Cabarita Beach.
And then we went to Byron, and then we went to the Gold Coast.
Yeah. And we went to
Burley's been the best, yeah?
James Street. Yeah, we had the most amount of people there. So it was been the most successful financially day. And yeah, but they've all been different. They had their own qualities, but it's just fun. We sort of, and Venna said to me the other day, he goes, Dad, we could even do this for free. He goes, it's just so much fun. And I said, yeah, man, that's the point. You know, we're having fun and we're getting paid whilst we're doing it. And it's just creative. Like, and I talked to my producer, Johnny, and I said, man, we've been busking every day. He goes, man, that's where it's at. He goes, all good things happen on the street. And it's just something about being down on the street around people and just jamming out and just, yeah, I feel, and just to see, like I went down, when we were in Burley yesterday, we took the girls, and so Venice was there, and Ava, my daughter, she's 5, and Ruby Rose were all there. We have these little pink ukulele guitars, and the girls are on the guitars, and just to see the people lit up, how inspired they are by seeing young kids. And people come up, they're like, man, good on you for having a go. Good on you for having a go. Good on you for having a go. Like, good on you for bringing the vibes. Like, for me, it's just really inspiring and so much fun.
How's it been for you busking out in the streets, Ben?
Good.
Yeah. Cool. So now let's talk about what we're actually then doing with this money, right? So you're receiving, he's had days where he's receiving $70, $60, $50. So he's got like hundreds of dollars, right? So what we're doing is we're actually teaching him about the financial literacy part young so that he carries this through to his adult life. So we have 4 jars at home. Do you want to share what the jars are?
Yeah, one's giving, and one's investing, and one's saving, and one's selling.
Or spending.
Splurge.
Spending.
Splurge?
Yeah. So we put 50% into spending.
Now what's the other one?
That's it, the 4. We invest, we give, we save, and we spend. So 50% has been going into spending.
No, I just put how much I want in there.
But we've been following pretty much a certain percentage. So 10%'s been going into giving, about 20% in growing, 20% in saving, and 50% in spending.
Yeah, I put $50 in spending.
Yeah, and at the moment you want to buy like some sound cards and some other things with your spending.
Or just one sound card.
Oh, one sound card. Okay, I'm not quite up with all the tech stuff, but yeah, he's got his. So we've been talking about where he's going to give. Is it going to be to people that don't have a lot of food and water and kids and or people that want to become musicians, sponsoring them. So we've got a lot of different things that we've been talking about, and then he's now got an app called. Do you want to say about the app? What's its name?
Spriggy. And I'm getting your card. You get cards on there.
Yeah, so Van wanted to have his very own FPOS card, and we tried to get him one with the bank, and they were like, "No, mate, you're too young. Sorry, can't do." And he was bummed. He was like, "I want a card." Yeah, okay, you and Dad went to the bank. And he was bummed about that. But anyway, we found this app called Spriggy, and it means that at like 7, they can have an FPOS card, and we can basically, from his busking money or any other money he has, we can put it into this savings account on there, and we can also put it onto a card. And so he's going to have his very own card, which is really, really exciting. He's got a black one. He's getting a frozen one for his sisters. So how's it been feeling for you, Ven, to actually have this concept of like putting your money into these different compartments, like these 4 different areas?
Good.
Yeah? Why is it good?
'Cause.
Okay. Do you like being taught this stuff at your age?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, awesome. And why do you like sales?
I don't know.
Because you like to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so let's now talk about the investing side. So basically the giving is like we're finding things that he's really lit up to give to. And at first he didn't quite understand the whole giving part, but I shared with him about DeMartini's work of like when you give, you actually receive. So then we've got the, so that's the giving part. Obviously he's got his savings. So the whole principle of the savings is that he's going to save, our goal is $800 a month to save every... So our goal is $800 a month to save until he's at least 17 or 18. And we worked out that he would have $100,000 in the bank, right? And so the savings is not to touch. And then we've got the spending, which is for things he wants at the moment or things he's working towards, etc. So he's got some things he's working towards at the moment. And then the investing is about investing into stocks and shares and index funds, etc., where, you know, based on calculations that I've done, again, if it was $800 a month that we put into the index funds for the next, I think it was based off 15 years, so till he was 22, then from that time, if he was to stop doing it then and there and left it to compound until he was 60, he would have $11.6 million. And it's really important to start this stuff young because of the compound. Like even if you started at like 40, you're still going to have some pretty epic money, but it's because of the compound of how long it takes that actually like a child doing it compared to an adult doing it, the child would have more money because of the compound. So that's also been really, really cool. And just getting him thinking about that. And, you know, he comes home from busking. He's like, all right, Mum, like I want to split it up into the 4 jars and I want to do, you know, I want to have my, and he goes and he gets excited about putting his money into the 4 jars. So that's really, really awesome. Okay. So final couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and we're going to put some links into the podcast section so that you guys can actually go and get your own Spriggy app. I've got a referral link, so you know you can go and use our referral link and actually get your own Spriggy app for kids. I'm going to put the link to the book The Barefoot Kids, which really inspired us to really, really teach him this kind of stuff. And I'm also going to put a link to a couple of other things, but I'm going to talk about them now. So one thing is we've actually come up with a business called Kid CEO. And the whole premise is we're creating a movement around it where basically, you know, schooling sets them up to be employees and we set them up to be leaders. And it's going to be around wealth and money and kids entrepreneurship and getting paid to do what they love and really focusing on their interests and their passions. And so we're going to have a merchandise range, we're going to have t-shirts, we're going to have an online course, and we'll put the links to them below. And we also have a journal which actually helps kids at a young age really understand what their dreams are and how to become a kid CEO and how to come up with business ideas and how to get paid and how to manage their money and, you know, creating like a vision board and all of these things, right? That I know for me as a child, I was just taught to go to school. I wasn't asked like, what's your dream? What does your dream life look like? Like if you like, how do you want to live your life? Like we're not asked any of these questions. We're asked like, what university degree do you want to do? And what do you want to become? A doctor, a psychologist, a nurse, like blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like the standard conversation. So this is a way for kids to really dream big and really harness that from a young age through these concepts of the journal. We have a business toolkit that you can purchase, the merchandise, and really creating this movement. Clint and I are very big on not just creating like personal brands or businesses, but actually creating a movement that has something that you really stand for. And what we stand for is helping kids become leaders, helping kids understand their creativity and who they are from a young age to actually, you know, learn the skill sets that are actually important, like financial literacy, communication, you know, in this day and age, AI, sales, these types of things, but also really putting their interests first. So let's talk. Did you want to add any more about Kid CEO?
Yeah, just get amongst it and start your kids young and set them up for life, and yeah, just give them the best start in those areas, because I know for me it's been there's so much unlearning
Yeah.
that goes on around finances and business and mindset beliefs around that. And so, if you start them out at a young age, then there's just less unlearning, which makes things a lot easier. And, he's starting now.
He's really loving being on the podcast. So we worked out his goals the other day, and obviously we're not going to push this on him. It's up to him and there's no pressure. But we worked out, I was like, what do we want to make per month, with your businesses? And it was like $4,000 a month, and we want to put $800 into savings, $800 into growing, and, 10% $400 into giving. And yeah, it's cool to have this goal again. We're not putting any pressure on it, but we've worked out, that already 2 hours a day of busking.
No pressure. Kristie comes home, she's like, your KPIs?
Have you met your KPIs today? Yeah, he's definitely got the sales mum and he's got the musician dad, and the sales dad as well. But yeah, so the goal is $4,000 a month. So we've been working out, okay, how are we going to achieve that? A few hours a day of busking is going to equate to this. So at the moment, I think we worked out based on busking 5 days a week or something, it's going to be about $250 or $300 based on what has already happened.
Depends.
And
depends on how big the busking gets.
Exactly, and then it's going to blow up. And then $50 is an agreement for what he gets at home for helping do things around the house. And then we're like, okay, the other $650, and that's where this Kid CEO was birthed. And, so that will be through the course, through the journal, through the toolkit, through the merchandise and everything. And then, yeah, by that point of $4,000 a month, he'll be earning what an adult basically earns, which is pretty cool at 7 years old. Anything else either of you wanted to share regarding that?
Good on that front. Love to talk about music.
Yeah, I'm about to. Yeah. Amazing. Anything you want to share, Benny, before we talk about music?
Benny's hungry.
Benny's hungry. Okay. We've got a hangry 7-year-old who's like, I don't want to do
just had
this.
breakfast, but now he's hungry again.
Okay, last thing. This is the most important. Music. So you guys have been creating some epic beats and tracks, and we've even been talking about potentially hitting the road and going around Australia and, touring and doing this busking. Because I was saying to Clint the other day, I was like, the singer Tons and I, who does Dance Monkey, she started literally busking in the streets of Byron, and then had a producer come up to her, and next minute she everyone knew about her and she was famous. And so yeah, we've been talking about just kind of hitting the road, and going to each city in Australia and busking and getting them out there of Dad and Ben, the Dad and Ben show. So you've been creating, you guys are creating, in all the pockets of your time, you're really being creative and creating all these epic tracks. So talk about a little bit about that. And I know there's an upcoming festival that you guys are running, which is cool. And then I'd love to invite you guys to actually do a song.
Great. So Venny and I started music about 5 years ago and just started doing hip hop, rapping about my story, my journey from the past to now, challenges, loss of my brother, just writing songs around that, which was really helping my healing and my journey, and just sharing my message. And I just developed a real love for it when I realized I could actually rap, that I'm like, I just want to do more. And then Venice, he featured on a song a couple of years ago, and he just loved, as soon as he got in the studio, he just loved it. And I'm like, something here, he really gets this. And then when we started schooling, I was like, all right, Benny, how about I teach you how to do a rhyme, how to write. And so I sat him down and showing him how I would write a song. And he was a bit disinterested. I'm like, oh, maybe, he's not really interested in this. I'm like, Benny, you're going to do this or what? He goes, nah, and he just started walking around the backyard freestyling. And I was like, all right, Benny, if you're going to do that, let's record it. And so I put the recorder on, and he just freestyled pretty much a couple of minutes into the mic to this track. And I went, okay, all right, that's a faster way to get to where we want. And so since then, we've been in the studio. We recorded that song. It's about going to Japan, and we'd love to perform that for you in a moment. And so, and then also since then, I've also been producing my own beats. And so what we've been creating is really fun, funky, gangster, hip hop tracks, but with really like fun kids hooks, like jumping on the beanbag, it's the most fun that I have ever had. Just fun songs that like kids can vibe to. And so we've put together a festival called Gila Dreaming, and it's a family day out. And so our music's, it's for adults. Adults can really vibe to it and get behind it. And some really meaningful messages and hooks and mantras and positivity that's weaved throughout the lyrics of these songs. And then also there's stuff that kids can really get behind. And so it's for all ages. And so we put together this festival called Gila Dreaming. We have this beautiful property called Gila in the Northern Rivers. And so it's a family day out. So if you're interested in that, bring your family and your friends and come and vibe with us and see our music. And we've also got a lot of other local artists, and it's a combination between music and also transformation. So it's called Gila Dreaming, Living the Dream Festival. And so it's about, really seeding your dream, and we're the example of us following our passions and our dreams. And so we want to be the inspiring example for other kids and other teenagers and other adults, so they giving them permission to really follow their dreams. So that's Gila Dreaming. And then we also have our busking tour. So we were having so much fun busking. And then I was sort of thinking, I was like, I just want to do this more. And I sort of had this feeling, I'm like, the streets down, bringing the beats to the streets. I was like, this is where it's at. This is where things are going to really take off, because we're sort of just getting our music out there and we're being courageous. And, courage is always rewarded with opportunity. And since doing it, I've met other rappers. We have this song called Freddie Spaghetti, and we're down in Byron and we're playing it.
And this guy came past, and his name is Eddie Spaghetti. And then he loved it, and then he's gonna do it with us.
Yeah. So his name was Eddie Spaghetti, but we have this song called Freddie Spaghetti. And so, he really vibed with the track. And so, just been meeting really cool people down in the street, making lots of connections, talking about our festival, talking about our music. And so we thought, well, what if we go on a bit of a tour with the family and, go hit some of the other cities in Australia, some of the local country towns, and just, get our music out there.
I love it. Are you guys going to do a song for us to wrap it up?
Dad and Van? We'll do this, and then we finish, then we go to the toilet and go eat. Okay?
Okay. We're going to Japan today, hopping on a plane. Yay, yay. We went in business class, and Dad had a big nap. But I said no, I just want to play my toys. I watched movies, play my toys, and then we were almost there. It was a 9-hour trip. I did do some wees and poos.
Japan
Today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spinning on my end just like Dad and Van. Going to Japan today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spinning on my end just like Dad and Van. When we were there, we landed and we hopped on a taxi. It was really cold and really dark. We hopped in a taxi, drove to a unit, had a big nap. And then the next day, we went to buffet. Stayed there for about 2 hours. I thought I was lost. Going to Japan today. Zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen. Spinning on my end just like Dad and Van. We're going to Japan today. Zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spending all my ends.
Just my dad and Ben, my dad and Ben.
We took say we got on the plane and went to Tokyo. We stayed in the unit, had a big sleep. We drove to Mr. Oshiro. It was his birthday and I had alcohol-free beer. On the way home we slept in the cab. It was so awesome here.
Going to Japan
And today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spending all my yen, just my dad and Ben, my dad and Ben. We're going to Japan today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spending all my yen, just my dad and Ben, my dad and Ben. On the Shinkansen with my little man Ben, no school bell rings and no class to attend. And then the next day we go to the snow, we slide and then we throw, we're taking it slow. I feel the chill and my bones as we're picking up skills. Falling on our butts, I'm making his heel. He's laughing at first, but the cold says goodbye. He's got so many scars and it doesn't feel right. So we will make up inside with the hot chocolate lip. It's legit and we're fresh once we hit the drip. Then we're picking up slip and we're picking the script. From falling and freezing to feeling the quit. He's laughing the child with the confidence it. From beginners here and now we're letting it rip. And I'm just behind him, oh what a ride. Watching my boy, he's taking life in his stride.
We're going
To Japan today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spending all my yen, just my dad and Ben, my dad and Ben. We're going to Japan today, zooming on the plane and the bullet train. On with my pad and pen, spending all my yen, just my dad and Ben, my dad and Ben. And I thought it was the two of us.
That
What
was
was it?
epic.
I thought I used to think it's the two of us. Like when he says dad and Ben, I thought he said the two of us a while ago.
Dad and Ben?
Yeah.
Which part?
All right, we're wrapping up, Ben. We're wrapping up. Hang on, just the last little line.
Let's say goodbye
Just
to the
saying
peeps.
goodbye. All right.
Bye.
So that concludes my very first Freedom with Kristie podcast. What a special episode to have Dan and Ben, the duo, with me.
Dan and Ben.
Oh, not Dan and Ben. Dad and Ben. Thank you both so much for coming on and really
Thanks for
helping
having us.
to
It's been great.
launch the podcast. I'm so excited for many more episodes around everything around freedom and sales and entrepreneurship and creating your dream life. So stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. And we've got some links below that you can go and start investing. You can start getting your Spriggy app. You can go into Kids CEO and actually start to go through what we have there. Go on to the festival link with Dad and Ben. And yeah, there's a couple of links for you to go through that's going to support you on your journey of supporting your child to step into his boss CEO, his or her boss CEO era, and become a leader. You know, that's what it's really about, is really setting them up to be self-responsible, self-led leaders versus employees. So yeah, we're very excited about the movement that's being created and all things entrepreneurship, sales, following your passions, your interests, unschooling, and helping your kids become leaders. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.